ETA is expected to approach the southern regions of Florida over the weekend. There will also be continued catastrophic flooding across Central America. Whilst ETA is weakening as it tracks over Central America, the system may approach Florida with rain, wind, and high surf this weekend. Meteorologists are warning that until then, life-threatening inland flooding will persist for days in Central America. ETA's potential Caribbean reformation could mean that it gets to Florida in the United States by the weekend. Whilst it could dissipate as it brings torrential rainfall to Central America, if this happens, then the system may reform in the northwest regions of the Caribbean over the weekend as well. However, meteorologists are warning that it is too soon to determine where the system may eventually track beyond the Caribbean. The forecast coming from weather experts is that ETA may become Florida's first official named storm to make landfall in the 2020 hurricane season. The United States has had 11 named storms make landfall this season, but none of them made landfall in the state of Florida. While Sally made landfall in Alabama and produced storm surges, rainfall, flooding, and high winds in the Florida Panhandle, ETA may be Florida's first official named storm to make landfall. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season has set many records, especially a record for the U.S. named storm that have made landfall. And while none of those have happened in Florida, the forecast currently is for ETA to make landfall in Florida. Hurricane Zeta became the record 11th named storm to make landfall in the mainland regions of the United States in the year 2020. That is 2 more storms than the previous record for the most U.S. landfalls for storms in one season that was set in the year 1916. It's quite surprising, however, that none of these 11 named storms made landfall in Florida. Hurricane Sally hammered the Florida Panhandle and the southern regions of Alabama in the middle of September, with up to 30 inches of rain, wind gusts up to 121 miles per hour, and caused storm surge flooding. Sally's landfall, which is the location in which the center of the tropical storm or hurricane crosses land, occurred just across the border near the Gulf shores in Alabama. It moved across South Florida as a tropical depression. It didn't become Sally until it moved offshore just south of Naples in Florida. ETA, however, is forecast to approach the southern Florida peninsula by this weekend. There is the possibility that the center of ETA may directly move into the Florida peninsula and become the state's first official named storm to make landfall this season. If ETA turns west towards the Gulf of Mexico before a Florida landfall occurs, there's a chance it could still happen on the Florida Gulf Coast next week. ETA may bring rain, wind, and high surf to parts of Florida, but it may never officially make landfall in the state of Florida. Florida has had 2 close brushes this season from storms that later made U.S. landfalls elsewhere. Tropical storm warnings in the lower and middle Keys were later dropped as Tropical Storm Laura tracked over or south of the western regions of Cuba in August 2020. While the Atlantic coast of Florida was under hurricane warnings for Isaias in early August, it only brushed the coast with some modest wind and rain, while its center remained safely offshore. Florida's Upper Keys and the west coast of Florida, east of Apalachiola, are the only parts of the east or Gulf Coast that have yet to be placed under a tropical storm or a hurricane warning so far this season. Even parts of western Maine have been in a tropical storm warning this season before the west coast of Florida. It should also be noted that in past years, Florida has had frenetic hurricane seasons, but also some long hurricane dry spells. In 2017, Hurricane Irma sliced up the Florida Peninsula from the Keys northward. That was followed 1 year later by Category 5 Hurricane Michael's devastation in the Florida Panhandle. And in 2004, Florida was struck by 4. Before and after Wilma, it would be almost 11 years before the next hurricane, which was Hermine, would make landfall in Florida, and that became a record hurricane drought for Florida. According to meteorologists, Eta will spend most of the rest of the week over the central Caribbean. It will produce potentially catastrophic rainfall flooding, but a second chapter in this storm's history may be one of more concern to the United States, as it is increasingly likely to unfold over the weekend and into early next week once the system or its remnants emerges back over the Caribbean Sea. Until this forecast becomes true and several other forecast particulars come into focus, there is not much that can be said about the details of any tropical threat to the United States. It is important to understand that parts of the Caribbean and the southern United States should maintain a close eye on Eta's forecast over the next few days. Eta will move slowly west-northwest across Central America through Friday and may even dissipate for a small period of time. Its remnant will spin and will gain some energy as expected, and then it will emerge over the northwest Caribbean Sea by the weekend. Eta will then be expected to reorganize into a tropical depression or storm, as is forecast by the National Hurricane Center. It will be steered north and northeast initially, and then it will move back over the northwest Caribbean Sea beginning late this week or early in the weekend. This is because Eta will be pushed in that direction by the interaction with the counterclockwise flow around an upper-level low-pressure system located in the Gulf of Mexico, as seen in the graph. Parts of the Cayman Islands and Cuba could see heavy rain this weekend if everything plays out according to what the forecasters have mentioned. Eta may take us on a very long journey, as it gradually moved previously over the Caribbean and meandered into Central America and stayed over Nicaragua, and now it is on a path that it seems it may track into the Caribbean Sea again. The longer it lasts, the farther north Eta may be pulled this weekend and may get into the Florida Peninsula as a tropical storm. The upper low may weaken faster, allowing an upper-level high-pressure system over the eastern states to take over as Eta's steering wheel. If this happens, then Eta will have a northeast or a northward movement, or even it may turn into a more westerly direction and move into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Eta may make a final landfall somewhere along the East Gulf Coast later this week. It is very important that persons living in the northwest regions of the Caribbean, Florida, and even parts of the U.S. Gulf Coast monitor the progress of Eta and the forecast that will be issued by the National Hurricane Center and other meteorologists. It's just a forecast, however. There is nothing to be overly concerned about, but as the information comes in, updates will be given about Eta so preparations can be made. The potential for Eta's forecast is that it will have a very long life, as it will last well into next week. So there are plenty of days ahead to keep watching and monitoring the forecast for Eta. Whatever happens, however, parts of the Florida Peninsula could see at least some bands of heavy rain associated with Eta's moisture as soon as this weekend, and it may lead to localized flash flooding. The gradient between the high pressure in the eastern regions of the U.S. and Eta's lower pressure in the Caribbean may contribute to gusty winds blowing on shore along Florida's east coast from the second half of this week into the weekend and early next week. This may allow high surf and dangerous rip currents to increase from Florida's east coast to possibly as far north as South Carolina. Remember to be safe during this time. November is the last month of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. But it seems Eta has no plans to go away anytime soon. It's just churning and churning, and it seems like it wants to visit various places. And whilst it makes its visit, it leaves behind its remnants to stay. Flash flooding has occurred, and there has been a lot of rain over places like Jamaica. And of course, Eta just barely passed by. So when it visited Nicaragua, of course, it had some dangerous and catastrophic impacts there. And now it is forecast that it may make a visit to Florida or even upwards into the Gulf of Mexico, and may also affect the eastern coast of the United States. It is also forecast to return to the Caribbean, and who knows if it will make a turn for the worst and return to its origins, or if it will travel northward and keep going. Well, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think about Hurricane Eta intensifying so quickly and then just meandering across the region and causing so much damage even in areas that it did not make landfall. One can only imagine if it made landfall in Jamaica, Cayman, or Haiti.